When it comes to delivering flowers for life's special occasions, trust the name that's been setting the standard for nearly 50 years. 1-800-Flowers.com. From breathtaking bouquets to one-of-a-kind arrangements, 1-800-Flowers is your authority on quality blooms. Always fresh, always stunning, always delivered with care. And right now, for a limited time, you can save up to 40% off your bouquet and make someone's day. Save up to 40% off today at 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO.
I like things my way. My coffee, my schedule, and my treatment. So I talked to my doctor about self-injecting with the Vyvgart Hytrulo prefilled syringe, which contains Efgartigimod alpha and hyaluronidase QVFC. It's injected under your skin, subcutaneously. It means I can inject in my space, on my time. It's my treatment, my way. Visit VyvgartMyWay.com. That's VYVGART MyWay.com. And talk to your doctor about Vyvgart Hytrulo. Brought to you by argenx.
Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out, each and every day, it expands our base. What a weekend. So much has changed since the last time we sat together. So let's try to summarize what has happened. First of all, we know that Donald Trump has seemingly reversed course. Why did he reverse course on the vote that will come in the House of Representatives tomorrow? Because he knew he would lose. Because Republicans were deserting him in droves. Because it is now clear that the Epstein files must be released. Is Donald Trump a happy man about it? I doubt it. But let's be clear. Let's assume the House passes this resolution overwhelmingly, and it goes to the Senate. You know, the Senate, we were told, would not take this up. Republicans in the Senate were not interested in dealing with the question of the Epstein files. I would suggest to you they now have no choice. Of course, the Senate is going to have to take it up. And then the question becomes, what will the president do? Will he sign it or pass it or veto it? What will he do? And of course, we now know that Donald Trump is seemingly saying to the Republicans in the House, go ahead and vote. But is he happy? Well, just ask Marjorie Traitor Greene. Oh, yeah, you heard me right. That's what he calls Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she is just one of those who Donald Trump now is angry at. And more than that, let's be clear, what we may see is an attempt to purge Republicans who opposed him. But that's not all. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said on Friday, after our podcast, that she has ordered a top federal prosecutor to investigate sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's ties to, are you ready for this? Trump's political foes, including former President Bill Clinton. She posted on X that she was assigning Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to lead the probe, capping an eventful week in which, well, you saw what happened. Let me explain that Donald Trump and Mr. Epstein were good friends. They palled around. There are many pictures and so forth of them. There's even speculation that Epstein took a lot of videos, and those videos may show Donald Trump. The question really is one that intrigues me. Do you remember when the Watergate scandal first broke? If you're old enough to remember, Nixon said, we'll give you all the information, whatever you want. And then there were stalling tactics. Well, I'm curious now to see whether the president, who has unleashed Pam Bondi, who has instructed the Attorney General of the United States to indict, essentially, his enemies, what the reaction will be. You see, the fascinating thing to me about the Epstein case is there are so many different levels. So let's define for a moment some of the levels. The first is, why did Donald Trump resist being clear about everything being let out? The answer must be that he has something to hide. Will we find out? Or will the Justice Department and perhaps even the House, in passing this and the Senate considering it, say, well, let's be selective in what we release? There is no doubt that the president has participated in a cover-up. And let me remind you, and I did it last week, but I do it again, what brought Richard Nixon down was not the break-in at the Watergate or the subsequent and previous actions. It was the cover-up. If Donald Trump has nothing to hide, let everything be released. Pure and simple. And as for the Republicans, they have finally shown they have a spine. Why? Because what Donald Trump was asking them to do was so outrageous, so egregious. Now, what does Speaker Johnson do? It's an interesting question. Will the Speaker of the House vote for the release of these materials? After all, the president has said, go ahead and do it. And what about Pam Bondi? Does Pam Bondi now retreat in terms of her position, dealing with an investigation of Bill Clinton and others involved in the Epstein scandal? How do we now deal with not just the Epstein files, but what I would suggest to you is a tremendous abuse of presidential power, instructing the Attorney General to begin this investigation and her immediate compliance? Once upon a time, Pam Bondi's actions would have resulted in her immediate dismissal, or at least a congressional investigation, or a call for impeachment. And I do mean impeachment of a cabinet officer. But you all understand the practical political realities. Donald Trump is now on the defensive. Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to protect himself. And you also understand that just hours before Bondi's announcement, Donald Trump posted on Truth's social platform that he would ask her, the Justice Department, and the FBI to investigate Epstein's, quote, involvement and relationship with Clinton and others, including former Treasury Secretary and Harvard University President Larry Summers, and others. Do you understand what an abuse of power this is? Do you understand how objectionable it is that a president of the United States of America would instruct an attorney general? Wait a minute. Remember the smoking gun tape? What brought Nixon down in terms of his losing support among Republicans? It was when the president and Bob Haldeman, his chief of staff, sat down to conspire to obstruct the investigation into Watergate. You can hear the June 23rd tape. Just Google it. What Donald Trump has done publicly is what Richard Nixon did privately. The difference now is, well, it's all public. It wasn't done behind the scenes because Donald Trump believed he could get away with it. So what are the implications? What are the repercussions? What will happen tomorrow on the House floor? That's Tuesday, when the vote comes up. What will the Senate do? And more important than anything else, how will the American people react to all of this? There is no doubt that there is something rotten that needs to be exposed. I just saw the ad produced by some of Epstein's victims. Powerful, compelling, and actually one can see why the Republicans jumped ship. Now, the question of whether or not Donald Trump will reconcile with Marjorie Taylor Greene is also an interesting question. She was the stalwart of the stalwarts. She stood by him. And now he calls her Marjorie Traitor Greene? And he threatens a primary challenge? This is a critical moment, not only in the history of the Trump administration, but in the balance of power between the executive and the legislative branches. All of this, my friends, is coming to a head. And I know that as I record this particular podcast, events are going to shift and change dramatically. And we wait to see what those changes will be. But in the meantime, justice shall you pursue. That is what must happen now in the Epstein case. I want to shift for a moment to the United States Supreme Court, because the whole question of Donald Trump and his tariffs, well, that's going to come to a head. And we don't know what the Supreme Court will do. But we do know that the Trump administration is talking about selective application. If the court were to have a divided vote, the Trump administration might decline to implement a Supreme Court decision. We have to watch this very carefully because although we're distracted by so many other issues, I can tell you once and for all that what the Supreme Court does in terms of presidential power is going to be very significant. What do the 9 justices of the court think about the Epstein case and all the various maneuvers of Donald Trump? And what do they think about his leveling and instruction to the Justice Department? All these things will weigh in their deliberations. But now I want to shift to something that bothers me and should bother all of us, and that is Gestapo tactics on the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina. That's right, Gestapo tactics. Have you been listening to what's going on in North Carolina? Have you been watching what you've heard reported? Did you hear this morning a poll showing on CNN that Hispanics are very disturbed about what is happening in North Carolina, and yes, around the country, on the question of ICE and the use of ICE? This is another serious question. I do not use the term Gestapo tactics on the streets of Charlotte lightly, but I am aware of the reason why Donald Trump went into Charlotte. He went in because they are a sanctuary city, and Donald Trump is determined to destroy the whole idea of sanctuary cities. This means there are implications all across America where sanctuary cities exist and where the presidential power to deploy ICE will now be tested. We know that in Charlotte, the entire leadership of the city has opposed what Donald Trump is doing. We know that across this country, there are demonstrations which are taking place, including cities like Chicago and, yes, San Francisco and others, Los Angeles, where these raids are taking place. Can you imagine people being told, for their own safety's sake, to carry their passports with them to prove they're American citizens? And we know that ICE tactics do not allow for that to make any difference at all, because ICE has been given instructions. Round them up, throw them out. You and I understand clearly the implications, because if an innocent person can be rounded up and thrown out simply because their background, their accent, the way they look, my friends, that is the use of Gestapo tactics right here in the United States of America. When I opened this podcast, I suggested to you that we would be talking about a lot of different things. I could go on and on this morning about all of the problems that we face. But let's be clear. The question at hand boils down to one person, Donald John Trump. The question is, does Donald Trump have the right to abuse presidential power as much as he's doing in these days. For those of you who are Trump supporters, just imagine if this were Joe Biden taking the actions, or Barack Obama taking the actions that Donald Trump is taking. Let me assure you, you would be up in arms. We're going to watch today and tomorrow and in the days ahead. And right here at Around the Political World with John Rothman, I may say things with which you disagree, but I will tell you something. We need to debate them, discuss them, and do something about what is happening to our country. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World. Naturally, you know I want to hear your thoughts on today's episode. You can write me a review on Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on YouTube or Spotify. You can click any of the links of the show for the notes to connect with me on social media. Remember, please, to share the episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. That's our goal, isn't it? And of course, we'll be watching all day, and we'll be back tomorrow with more. Don't forget, this show has been getting so much positive attention that we're excited to bring on advertising support. This will help to create more opportunities for Around the Political World with John Rothman, and we're happy to share some of our thoughts so, well, you can enjoy the commercials when they come, and they will. This means you'll be hearing some dynamic and interesting ads, and we hope it adds to your enjoyment of this podcast. I am John Rothman. You are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman, and I will be back right here tomorrow. Have a great day.
I like things my way. My coffee, my schedule, and my treatment. So I talked to my doctor about self-injecting with the VivGuard Hytrulo prefilled syringe, which contains F-gartigimod alpha and hyaluronidase QVFC. It's injected under your skin, subcutaneously. It means I can inject in my space, on my time. It's my treatment, my way. Visit VivGuardMyWay.com. That's VYVGART myway.com. And talk to your doctor about VivGuard Hytrulo. Brought to you by Argenix.
O'Reilly! Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.